Sometimes, understanding women doesn't feel like learning a language. It feels like trying to decipher a code that keeps rewriting itself. Just when you think you've figured it out, something shifts. And for many men, that shift breeds confusion, which quickly becomes frustration, or worse, self-doubt. But here's what most never realize. The goal was never to master her. It was to master yourself in her presence. If you're the kind of man who's tired of playing roles, tired of second-guessing every word, every move, and ready to see women and yourself with clarity, then you're exactly where you need to be. Because the truths I'm about to share, they're not soft, they're not easy, but they are necessary. They'll challenge how you've been taught to show strength, and they'll ask you to rethink what makes a man truly attractive, not just to women, but to the world. If that's the kind of transformation you're ready for, stay with me. And if you're new here, welcome to Stoic Station, where we don't chase approval, we build presence, we embody calm, and we lead without noise. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. 1. Real confidence is silent. Confidence isn't about telling her you're strong. It's about showing her quietly, through your energy, your presence, and the way you carry yourself when no one's watching. Real confidence doesn't come with noise. It doesn't try to dominate a room, cut people off, or win every conversation. It doesn't panic when challenged, and it never begs to be noticed. Instead, it remains grounded, steady, and unmoved, even in the middle of emotional storms. A truly confident man doesn't flinch when disagreed with. He listens fully, not because he's weak, but because his sense of self is unshakable. He doesn't react to prove he's the man, because he already knows who he is. He doesn't escalate just to protect his ego, because his ego isn't in control. And that calm, composed energy, that's what women notice. That's what they feel. When a woman playfully challenges you, teases you, or even disagrees with you, she's not just trying to spar, she's observing. She's not measuring your dominance, she's sensing your stillness. She wants to know if your strength holds when pushed, or if it collapses into insecurity dressed as attitude. When you stay playful, composed, and unbothered, even when you disagree, you send a message louder than any argument ever could. I don't need to overpower you to feel powerful. Because the truth is, the moment you feel the urge to prove yourself, you've already stepped out of true masculine confidence and into the territory of performance. You've made her opinion your scoreboard, and that shift, no matter how subtle, costs you respect. You don't win a woman's trust by talking over her. You earn it by standing still when others rush to speak, by holding presence instead of pushing weight. And the most powerful man in the room is rarely the loudest. He's the one who knows. He doesn't have to prove a thing. 2. She tests you for stability. Most men misunderstand why women test them. They assume it's manipulation, power games, or drama. But more often than not, her tests aren't malicious. They're subconscious. And they don't come from a place of control. They come from curiosity, emotional curiosity. She's asking a silent question. Are you steady enough to handle me at my most uncertain? Every sarcastic jab, every passive-aggressive comment, every moment she rolls her eyes or questions your choices, it might sting. It might feel like disrespect. But what she's really doing is scanning for structure. She's looking for emotional grounding. And whether she knows it or not, she's testing the foundation you're standing on. If you react by becoming defensive, lashing out, or trying too hard to fix it with endless apologies, she'll feel it. Not just your words, but your emotional instability. And even if she wins the moment, something gets lost in the process. Respect. Because when you get rattled, you reveal that your confidence isn't rooted. You show her that your strength is dependent on harmony, that you're only calm when everything goes your way. But that's not real strength. That's conditional masculinity. And women, especially emotionally mature ones, can feel the difference. Now, here's where the power shifts. When you choose not to be reactive, when you maintain your frame with quiet ease, when you meet the storm with a grounded presence, and maybe even a playful smirk, that's when something changes. You're not just passing her test, you're flipping it, you're testing her instead. You're saying, without saying it, I don't break under tension. I don't lose myself to keep the peace. And if you push me, I won't chase. I'll watch. That doesn't mean you tolerate repeated disrespect. Boundaries still matter. But the first reaction, your first moment of pause, poise, and perspective, is what sets the tone. Because the man who doesn't flinch when challenged becomes a mirror. And when she sees her own emotional chaos reflected back in your stillness, it often brings her clarity too. Let her feel the contrast. Let her wonder how you remain so unshaken when most men would have already spiraled. Because that moment, that quiet strength, it creates a different kind of attraction. One rooted not in control, but in calm. You don't earn respect by controlling her. You earn it by mastering yourself. And once she sees that her words don't sway you, that her moods don't shake you, that her tests only sharpen you, something subtle shifts. You stop being just another man trying to impress her. You become the man she respects, even when she won't admit it out loud. Third, depth beats looks. There's a harsh truth that too many men still resist. Looks alone don't hold a woman's attention for long. Sure, physical attraction matters. It opens a door, but it doesn't keep it open. Because once the initial shine fades, she's not listening to your abs. She's listening to your voice, your presence, and what your life says about who you are. And if all you've got to offer is charm on the surface, she'll feel the emptiness underneath. It's like wrapping an empty box in fancy paper. From across the room, it looks impressive. Sharp edges, glossy finish, a package that turns heads. But the moment she picks it up and realizes there's nothing inside, no values, no mission, no weight behind the image, that's when the attraction slips away, quietly and completely. That's why 90% of women say they weren't physically attracted to their partner right away, because for them, it's not always about the first glance. It's about how you carry yourself after, how you speak, how you show up, how you handle stress, silence, and subtle shifts in energy. You don't need to be conventionally attractive. You need to be emotionally compelling. You need depth, conviction behind your words, purpose behind your actions. A man who can lead his own life doesn't need to beg for hers. A man who respects himself doesn't need to convince someone else to do it. That kind of energy lingers long after you leave the room. When you walk into a space, don't aim to be the best-looking guy there. Aim to be the one who changes the emotional temperature, the one who speaks when it matters, and remains quiet when it doesn't. The one who notices more than he brags, who moves with intent, and who isn't looking for attention, because he's already rooted in self-respect. That's what women feel, even if they don't consciously understand it. Your posture, your eye contact, your discipline, the way you treat others. These things all whisper something powerful. This man knows who he is. And in a world full of noise, that kind of quiet strength becomes magnetic. You can chase external validation like the next guy, or you can build a life that commands internal gravity. Looks fade, but presence, purpose, that's what makes you unforgettable. Depth doesn't just beat looks, it leaves them in the dust. 4. Outgrow the hypergamy game. You hear the word hypergamy and suddenly there's frustration in the room, men complaining, judging, feeling like they've been handed an unfair deal. But the truth is, hypergamy isn't cruelty, it's biology. Many women are wired to seek stability. emotional, financial, and directional. Not because they're shallow, but because they're built to invest deeply. And when a woman chooses to commit, she instinctively wants to know she's choosing someone she can trust to lead, protect, and provide, not just with resources, but with presence and clarity. So the question isn't how to stop her from being hypergamous. The better question, the one that will change your life, is this: how do I become the kind of man that no woman can outgrow? The moment you stop trying to win her approval and start building a life that reflects your values, your vision, and your discipline, the game changes. You no longer chase her standards, you start setting your own. And in doing so, something powerful happens. You stop attracting women who are looking for status and start drawing in the kind of women who are inspired by substance. Because women may be drawn to strength, but they stay for stability. They stay for a man whose life is already in motion, a man who doesn't wait to be chosen. He's already chosen himself. And ironically, when you stop performing for female attention and start living with direction, that's when you become magnetic. That's when you stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start saying, "This is who I am. You're welcome to walk with me, but I'm walking either way." You will not just attract women, you'll attract the right kind of women. And even more importantly, you'll respect yourself, because in the end, a man who is self-led never fears being outgrown. He knows he's still growing. 5. Feel her, don't fix her. One of the hardest lessons for a man to learn, especially a man who's built his life on solving problems, is that not everything a woman brings to him is meant to be solved. When she opens up, when she shares her frustration, when her emotions spill over, it's not always an invitation for logic. Sometimes it's simply a request to be felt. You don't need to have the right answer. You don't need to offer the perfect strategy. What she needs in that moment isn't control, it's connection. She needs to know that you can stay present with her discomfort without trying to escape it, explain it, or erase it. That your emotional strength can match her emotional depth. This is where so many good men go wrong. They listen with the intention to fix, to redirect, to solve. And while that instinct is noble, it's not always what she needs. Because when you rush to provide a solution, you skip over the very thing she's aching for: acknowledgement, validation, the simple human reassurance that her feelings matter, even if they don't make perfect sense. Listening to understand, not to correct, is the solution she needs right now. And sometimes the most powerful words you can offer are the simplest. That sounds really hard. I can see why you'd feel that way. Those aren't weak responses, they're anchoring ones. They say, "I'm with you in this," without trying to take control of the wheel. Because real masculine presence isn't about being unshakable in conversation. It's about being fully present in connection. Holding space for her without collapsing, without controlling, without turning her storm into your own. The moment she feels that steadiness, the moment she realizes you're not uncomfortable with her mess, that you can sit beside it without needing to fix it, that's when something shifts. That's when she stops speaking to you like a man she has to explain herself to, and starts opening up like a woman who finally feels safe enough to be seen. Connection over correction isn't just a relationship tactic. It's a leadership principle. It's the kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't solve. It simply stays. And that's what leaves a lasting impact, not just in love, but in life. Most men spend years chasing the wrong metrics, trying to impress, trying to fix, trying to be seen. And they exhaust themselves wondering why none of it holds her interest. But the truth is this: a woman doesn't need you to perform. She needs you to be anchored. She's not looking for the loudest man in the room. She's looking for the one who doesn't flinch when things get real. What I've shared with you isn't about tactics to manipulate women. It's about how to become a man you respect first, one who doesn't crumble under pressure, one who doesn't need external validation to feel strong, one who brings depth, clarity, and emotional presence into every room he walks into, and lets his energy speak louder than his words. Here's the truth you need to walk away with. Strength isn't proven in dominance. It's proven in silence, in stillness, in knowing when to speak and when to simply be. A woman doesn't test you to see if you're perfect. She tests to see if you're present. And when you stop reacting, stop fixing, stop chasing, and start leading with quiet certainty, that's when everything shifts. You don't earn respect by demanding it. You earn it by embodying it. And the more you root yourself in purpose, discipline, and calm authority, the less you'll fear what she thinks, because you'll finally know who you are. So there it is, 5 hard-hitting truths every man must face. Not to control women, not to resent them, but to better understand yourself. These insights aren't here to make you cold. They're here to shape you into a man who moves through relationships with clarity, with calm, and with a quiet, unshakable strength. Because when you stop performing and start becoming, you don't just attract women, you attract the right ones, the ones who see your depth, who feel your presence. So, take a moment. Let whatever spoke to you sink in, reflect. Decide what kind of man you're choosing to become next. And if this message helped bring that into focus, like the video, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to Stoic Station, where men don't chase approval, they embody truth.